Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence. How are you? Hopefully you're doing good. A big mahalo for tuning in. Today we are welcoming a very cool band. They're an up-and-coming rock band from Australia. I was lucky enough to see them in concert in Sydney. It was a treat, actually, to get turned on to a few talented new artists in Sydney and local Australian acts opening for some of the other shows that I was at and different people I was interviewing there. One of those bands performed as an acoustic duo. They opened up for Ringo Starr's All-Star Band. They usually play as a trio, though if you go on YouTube, you can see them in a variety of incarnations. They're called Mojo Jacket, and you can find their album Offering on Amazon. They are a Melbourne band. They've toured around Australia. Right now they're in Brisbane, I believe, and we're talking to them from a tour stop there. They're built around two brothers. They have an acoustic-based rock sound. It evokes our own Jack Johnson, sort of like Dave Matthews sometimes, sublime at other moments. They write catchy songs, a variety of flavors, some upbeat and happy, others pretty moody and introspective, and they have a lot of talent. There was not filler on their set. They were captivating, soulful vocals, great guitar work, and my guests are the three core members of the band that you probably get to see in some of the videos if you go on YouTube and take a look at them. I've got the pair of brothers that are the core of the band, Ben and Rick Fumi, and they play. Ben is a singer and also plays guitar. Rick plays bass and also sings, and we're also joined by their drummer Benny Stavala. And a big aloha and mahalo to the dudes in Mojo Jacket. How you guys doing?
Hey, good. Not bad, Dave. How are you? Thanks, Dave.
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for being willing to do this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problems. That was an awesome introduction. I think I'm going to have to steal that description of our band because I can never work out what to call us.
And no doubt, that's probably a good way to get started. When I think about your sound, it is hard to figure out how do you define what these guys are. And when you see a band opening, something to make note of in Australia, I saw 4 shows there, and all of them had acoustic openers. So it was sort of like the concept of let's have an opening act that's easy to break down before the main band. And often in the United States, that's not the case. The opening band could be 15 pieces. It's not usually determined by the size and ease of breaking them down. And so to see the two of you, and it was just Rick and Ben basically at that show, correct?
Yes.
It was just they were playing like as a duo, and as I pointed out, if you go on YouTube, you'll be able to see them in a variety of formats. But your songs, it's a really interesting mix of stuff. Talk a little bit, if you will, and identify which one it is talking first, and how long you guys have been together, and tell us a little bit about what defined your sound.
Okay, it's Ben here. Well, I've been playing music for about 16 years now in originals and cover bands, and both my parents were musicians, my whole family's musicians, so exposed to a lot of different genres and styles. So it kind of makes it hard to pick one, I guess, to stick to.
How did you end up collaborating with your brother?
We were at uni and needed a bass player, and he was a bass player. So
say that again.
That was about. He was living with me when we were both at uni, and he was the bass player, and my band needed a bass player. So, what was that, about 10 years ago, Rick?
Yeah, it would have been about 10 years ago.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's been in the band ever since.
And Rick, what got you into music as a kid?
I think I was probably technically always in it, considering my family. So I just happened to pick up the bass, and that's the way it kind of materialized, I guess.
What instruments
I was just naturally always in it.
What instruments do your folks play?
Dad is a guitarist, singer. He plays violin and banjo as well. Sometimes mucks around on the drums and anything else he picks up. My mum plays a bit of guitar and bodhran. It's like an Irish drum. Both grandpas played trumpet. One of them actually survived a prison camp in World War II by playing trumpet in the band. What else? My aunt is a violin teacher. My uncle is a singer and band agent, and pretty much everyone plays something.
Wow, what a real musical family, and that does sound like a wild story. I'm assuming we're talking about is that World War II and German prison camp?
It was an Italian prison camp actually, but World War II. people around were kind of starving, but they fed the band a bit better because they wanted them to play music. So there's a whole backstory there, but it's into it. But
yeah, and I've heard similar stories too of different cases where people's talents were able to get them a little better quality of life in those kind of circumstances. And yourself, Benny, how long have you been working with these two cats? How did you get hooked up with them?
Geez, only about 6 months. No, about 6 months, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I wasn't doing a lot at the time, and I put an ad up on the internet somewhere, and got a call from Ben saying, "Yeah, we're doing this and we're doing that. Would you like to get together for a jam? And we can talk about stuff." And it's all kind of just snowballed from there, really.
And Snowball's...
He had the right name, so that's a good hire.
And Snowball is a great description because you really have, you've got something going on with the energy of the sound. And we'll get a little bit into this record offering in a second. Ben, when you think about the bands that first inspired you, I get the story now, a great story of how your family has been so nurturing musically for both you and Rick. But when it comes to the music that you personally got into as a fan, talk a little bit about who you like a lot and maybe some of who your earliest personal inspirations were.
Sure. My first rock concert or musical concert was a guy called Tommy Emmanuel. He's an Australian guitarist. So if you listen to Scarlet Woman, if you're a Tommy Emmanuel fan, you might hear that I've maybe borrowed a little bit of stuff for that song, I reckon, accidentally. But so he's one of my guitar inspirations, and I actually met him one day. He saw us busking and came up and said, "Thoroughly enjoyed the show, mate," which was quite a proud moment.
Awesome.
One of my favourite bands, me and Rick, I'd say, is Pink Floyd. It's probably one of our first favourite bands. Yeah, all of us. Pink Floyd definitely an influence, and I think for the vocals, perhaps Crowded House or U2 is my favourite vocal band.
Yeah, I was wondering where the vocal side of what you do comes from. Rick, when you think of some of your own personal inspirations that may be different from your brother, where would they fall?
Maybe a little bit stronger in Simple Minds versus U2, I guess. And I don't know, other than that, we're pretty well aligned on our taste in music. I was a little bit later to take up the grunge sound, I guess, so... But yeah, other than that, probably Simple Minds versus U2 would be the only difference I could note, which isn't much of a difference really, but yeah.
So you're
pretty old school.
Yeah, well, and you're diverse though. You're old school, but you got a lot of different flavors, and you've named a bunch. And certainly, when you listen to the music, you hear a lot more. You guys, the two of you as brothers, are so natural on stage. Again, I only had the chance to see one show, but it was a very revealing show. I think when you're opening in a large venue, it's kind of like watching a band on TV. If they don't have it, it's going to show. And when it's just two guys with equipment and you got the lights on you, it's like if you don't have something to bring to the table, it's going to be a very empty table. And you had a real sound. Talk a little bit about when you guys first realized that playing together was going to be something that you're going to do.
I think that was always in the cards, to be honest. We've actually got a little brother who's learning the drums, who I'm sure one day is going to be battling it out with Teddy here for the position. He's only 8 at the moment. I think it's 7. 8, I think, yeah. So he's got a way to go, but I'm sure there'll be a drum off at some stage.
It's always been kind of naturally and Ben playing together. I think it's never really a conscious decision made. It's just kind of always ends up that way.
And you always wonder about that when you have bands that have siblings that play, whether they started out as individuals and then they realized, hey, we ought to do this together, or like you just described, it sort of naturally came out of your family background.
I definitely started first, but as soon as Ricky, maybe after Ricky had played bass for a year or two, pretty early on, he joined the band, and from then on it's been together. So.
Well, the thing is, we moved in together for uni, and then me playing bass and Ben in a band, it was kind of pretty inevitable that it all ends up this way, I guess. So.
And uni is university? Is that short for that?
Ah,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Got it. No problem. I'm picking up some Australian slang as we go today. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. No.
Where
We'll
did
pick it up some US slang too.
I'll do my best, my brother. Where did you guys get the name?
I had this leather jacket that I picked up. This old, like, it was nearly World War II era leather jacket. It was completely beat up, but whenever I wore it, I had very fun nights, let's say. So that was my Mojo Jacket.
I love that.
And it ended up falling apart. I got it sewed back together, and then it fell apart again. The stitching was too old.
So do you have it saved somewhere in a closet, or?
Yeah, it's in the cupboard.
That's great. The Mojo.
It's a bit worse for wear now.
Sure, but it's like something you can go in and rub it occasionally for good vibes, I guess. That's cool. It's very Austin Powers-ish. When I was reading on your website about it. It's like the jacket that helps give you your mojo.
That's it. And then you find out it's not the jacket.
Right, exactly. It's a lot.
That's the standard cheesy moral of the story, isn't it?
Say that one more time.
That's the standard cheesy moral of the movie.
Right. It's not just the jacket. And the music is fantastic. I really been digging on Offering. That's your record, and it's also and it came out in 2011, right? That was when it was released.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Yep, that'll be better. Yep.
And of the songs on there, and there's a lot of different flavors, but let's talk for a moment about the title song, Offering. It is my new favorite tune. What's that tune about?
It's actually about being a conspiracy theorist and kind of knowing there's other people out there that understand what you understand or believe what you believe, but not having any around you to talk to.
Oh.
That's part of it anyway. It's kind of most of my songs cross over a few different things and aren't specific, but they start off about one thing. So that's what it started off about.
Is that so? The line "I'm not alone, but I'm lonely." I mean, it's such a catchy song, dude, and the way it builds and builds, and then you deliver that thing. I cannot give you enough high fives or praise on that. But what are you saying with that?
I'm saying that I know there's other people out there that are kind of, I guess, understanding the world the way I understand it and trying to fix it or trying to help it, but there's none around me.
Wow.
There's none. They're far away, scattered around the world, sort of thing.
Because you obviously, when you hear that and you hear some of the other lyrical themes, you think about maybe relationships or the typical sort of thing, but it's just...
There's a bit of that in there too, yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a double meaning thing.
And what kind of conspiracy theories? Just give me one or two that you buy into.
I don't know if you want to get on that topic.
I don't know, how much time have you got?
We can be here for the next 3 weeks.
So you're talking about aliens? I mean, what is it that you're talking about?
Pretty much all of them.
Okay.
I don't know. I would be Dr. Ben now if I didn't get a little distracted. I was enrolled in a doctorate and then ended up studying conspiracy theories basically for 10 years while I did my music instead. I don't know, a good one to start. It's not too controversial at the moment. I don't know, look up the Sumerians and their creation tales and how that relates to, if you mentioned aliens, so how that relates to aliens and the Bible and genetic engineering and all that sort of stuff.
Wow. Very, very different path than what you would, because when you listen to the song, I was sitting there I've heard it so many times because I'll just play it over and over and really listen to the way it builds. It's just so catchy. I even turned a good friend of mine at Atlantic Records on to the song because I was so impressed with it. So yeah, it's just one of those moments where you don't really know what something's about, and clearly I had no idea.
Well, no, you weren't far wrong. There's definitely the relationship side in there as well. Like it's hinting at both, I think.
Right. Well, you're a diverse cat. I'm not alone, but I'm lonely. Man, you just you nail that thing in there. Is the songwriting collaborative? Talk a little bit about what's the writing process on that tune in particular? Is the lyrics all you and the music? I mean, how does the writing break down?
The majority of the songs are all me. Three Girls was me and Ricky drunk on a bottle of whiskey one night up in my apartment.
Probably the Mojo Jacket had a lot to do with that song too, actually.
Yeah, I think that was a Mojo Jacket wearing night. There's a song called Lawn Song that's not on the CD. That was Ricky's contribution, which is very Jack Johnson. I like that one. It's very sitting on a beach, relaxing. That'll be on our next album.
So it's mostly you on these.
Mostly me. Yeah, there's a couple other ones with some lyrics that I've been given by other people when I couldn't figure out lyrics for particular songs. But yeah, majority is just me.
Falling. Where does
they come up with their parts? Like I don't write the bass part or the drum part. I just play my song and see what they come up with.
Okay,
Make some suggestions.
Allow them to have that freedom and also to bring their creativity to the table in that way. The song "Falling." Talk a little bit about that. Where does that come from lyrically?
I was in a relationship with a girl who I'm still very close friends with. Actually, amazing girl, but just you know how it is. Sometimes it just doesn't work, even though you still love that person or respect them.
Absolutely.
And, it's that, and it's also it's a double again. It's combined with a previous relationship. Some of the more negative parts of it, which I won't mention.
Sure.
More than that.
Right. I get you. And another side of you, though, that's aside from the lyrics on that one, and I noticed at least, and I see it mentioned in your website, there's a little flamenco-style guitar or flavor I hear in that song.
Yeah, I love me some flamenco. I wouldn't say I'm any sort of flamenco player, but I like to try.
Right. Yeah, you put the feel of it in there, which is and it sounds nice. You do it really nice. Three Girls, by the same token of including something a little different, is that trumpet that I hear in Three Girls?
Yeah. We have a girl she's in the band. She's half in the band. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But she plays trumpet and violin and keyboards and a little bit of guitar.
Yeah, the violin on offering. Violin on offering.
That was me actually.
Oh wow.
That was my terrible effort at violin. So don't blame her. Actually, that wasn't her though, was it? That was a different. The trumpet in Three Girls was actually another guy we had in the band for a short while, who also played trumpet and keyboards. But the plan is definitely to have a trumpet player in there eventually, because I just feel a lot of the songs, especially the jumpy sort of, I don't know what to call them, gypsy jazz style stuff kind of suits it.
Yeah, man, I hear that. I hear that for sure. It's hard to when you talk about that, the jumpy, when you talk about trying to describe your sound. You mentioned him. It took me a moment when I was thinking, who do these guys remind me of? And Jack Johnson was certainly one of those guys. Have you seen him live in concert?
I haven't seen him live, but I'm quite a fan. So yeah, there's a few songs that I've written that I've almost intended to sound Jack Johnson-y. Same with John Mayer's another one I listen to a lot.
Sure, makes sense. Totally makes sense. Have you guys played all over Australia?
Yeah, we pretty much, except Tasmania. We've done all the capitals. We haven't played Canberra, have we? We just passed through.
Yeah.
No one bothers with Canberra.
No one really stops there.
Everyone gets to Canberra and goes, you know what? I'm going to keep driving.
Yeah.
Like it's in Sydney.
Which market is Melbourne where you're the biggest?
Musically, I'd say yes.
Definitely musically.
It's a quite a challenging place to get noticed.
Yeah, it's great because there's such a great music industry, but it also makes it extremely competitive.
Yeah. You could be the best band there and there'll be someone 1% worse than you willing to play for $1 on a beer. So, yeah.
Yeah,
that's why we travel.
You get that feel that it is very competitive. That's a good point. I had that. It feels like it must be hard in a way to get off the rock, if you will, and get out of there. Make it national. I don't know what you call it. Make it internationally, I guess.
Well, hopefully soon.
Yeah. Well,
we're planning on going to Europe later this year, so I'm hoping that still happens.
Yeah, I saw that on your website. Talk a little bit about that. What is you guys have a tour planned, or what's the deal?
So we were planning on going in late June and July, but we've kind of changed our mind. We're going to record an album first, save our money, and hopefully going to get over for Oktoberfest if we can plan it out right.
All new material on the album, or is the album going to be featuring any of the stuff from Offering redone?
Both. We're looking at a double CD because there's kind of such variation in the songs. We want it so that if someone hears a particular song, they can go, oh, that's off, I don't know, let's say we called it the Black Album or something, I don't know. That's off the Black one, and they buy the Black Album and it's full of similar songs. That CD you've heard, we actually recorded that in my mum's shed.
You did a great job.
It turned out better than we expected, but it wasn't intended to be a CD in the first place. So I'm hoping to go back and record them how I hear them in my head.
Well,
a lot of the songs didn't quite turn out how I expected.
Considering it was done in your mom's shed, Ben, it turned out really good. The sound on that thing is high quality.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. I had a question about. I'm assuming you've never been to the United States. Is that accurate?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. Oh, it's coming. Hopefully, it'll start here. How different is? My question would be wondering, because I've only been in Sydney. How different would you say Melbourne is from Sydney?
Musically, quite different. From what I gather, Sydney's kind of it's not that much of a live music scene, is there? It's kind of talking to Benny here, my drummer in Houston.
Yeah.
Maybe you should feel this one.
I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time in Sydney, but from the time I have spent there, it just seems like it's a bit harder to. We're in Melbourne. We're also spoilt for music. There's so many places we can go to see live music. Kind of like I had to go out of my way in Sydney to find some.
I don't think I've actually seen a live band in Sydney. No, that was Brisbane, wasn't it? Yeah. No, I haven't. Every pub in Melbourne almost got a live band at some stage, but yeah, Sydney's more, I guess, club scene or something like that.
And when it comes to your personal time, there's a connection you guys definitely have to the islands, and that's surfing. Do all three of you surf, or who's the surfers?
We love the beach. We actually tried to surf the other day. I think Betty did the best, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd probably consider myself more of a snowboarder than a surfer. I definitely don't consider myself a surfer yet. I'm trying to be that.
Currently have a lot of trouble reading the waves and not just getting tired out in the rip.
That's good stuff.
If we come to Hawaii, that's on the cards.
Yeah, learn to surf.
I bet you'll learn here. You could probably learn in Honolulu. They have decent waves. They're not too rough. It's a big scene here in Waikiki Beach with surfing instruction. So I bet we could work that into the thing. I do have to ask about the Ringo tour, but before I wrap it up with you guys, how was that experience?
It was absolutely mind-blowing. I still kind of doesn't feel quite real, to be honest. Every time we finished a gig, I'd look around at the stadiums we're playing and going, holy cow, we just played this stadium. And yeah, Ringo was awesome. He gave us a hug at the end of the tour and said he's going to miss us.
What a nice thing. Each of you got to meet him. Talk a little bit about meeting Ringo.
Well, not each of us got to meet him.
Benny's a huge fan, but he didn't get to meet him. We're trying to wrangle it so we could get him up on stage for at least the Melbourne shows. But apparently Ringo doesn't even normally have support acts, and it was only here that he decided to have them. So, yeah. So
it was just the two of you?
Yeah, so I only met him a few times for, like, had a few, maybe a 5-minute conversation with him a few times. Lovely guy. We're talking about health foods, actually. He'd been off to the health store or something. he must be eating right because he's looking amazing for 70.
Incredible.
Is he 72 or 73?
I think.
He looks about
73 now.
He looks about 40-something.
Yeah, he looks great.
He moves like a young man, too. Doesn't move like an old guy, so...
What a lucky guy you are, Ben. You got to have multiple 5-minute conversations with Ringo Starr.
He actually... I have this foot drum thing. It's like a drum kit in a box. I'll give it a plug because it's cool. I've got no association with the company, but it's called Farmer's Foot Drum. And I was playing it. You missed it at the Sydney gigs. I played it at the Melbourne ones and Adelaide and Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth. And Greg Bissonnet actually jumped on it and had a play, and he took it to show Ringo because he loved it. And Ringo ended up signing it. He hasn't signed anything in 7 years, as far as I know.
That's right.
I'm pretty stoked.
That's very special. Yeah, he stopped signing things. That's a good point. Yeah, he doesn't do that. Did you get a picture with him?
I don't think we actually did.
Well, hell, you got to talk to him enough. It sounds good enough for me, man. That's
all the pictures are in my head, in my memory.
Those are the best ones, bruh. Sometimes those are the only ones, that really matter. And as a final note, I saw another guy down there who we're also going to feature on the show. A couple great bands opening for the acts that I saw. I know we saw BG. Who was it? It was Barry Gibb first, then Sir Cliff Richard, then Ringo, then Carole King, and you guys opened for Ringo. There was this other guy, really talented dude, who opened for Carole King, Shane Howard. Do you ever listen to Shane or Goanna?
No, I haven't heard of him.
No.
Where's he from?
He's Australian. Yeah, that's so cool. I get to turn you on to something. The guy's name is Shane Howard. And
Shane Howard. Right.
Shane Howard, and then his band was those lizards called Goanna?
Yeah.
Goanna Lizards. That's the name of his band, Goanna, and they started in the early 80s. And
I know the band Goanna, yeah. I just didn't know who the actual... So was he the lead singer from it, was he?
Yeah, he was. He's the one who wrote Solid Rock.
Yeah, that's a cool song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
it. So he's doing his solo thing now, is that right?
Yeah, he's solo, and he was all by himself up there opening for Carole, and man, it was just like seeing, when I saw you and your brother, it made the same impression on me. I mean, that song Solid Rock, in and of itself, would make an impression on you, but just the way he did it all by himself really was something else. So I was just curious if you knew who...
Had you ever heard of that song before then? Was that big in Hawaii?
It never really got exposure in the United States, which was sort of shocking to me because when I realized how old the song was. So no, I had never heard it. I grew up on the mainland in Philadelphia area and then in Boston. And no, I had never heard the song. I had never heard of the song, had never heard of Goanna, and had never heard of Shane. So I felt sort of ignorant when I got home and started looking up who he was and how long the band had been around, how historic the song was. But no, I'd never been turned on to it. It made a real impression on me.
It's a very cool song.
It is a powerful, powerful song. On that note, you said you're going to be recording new music. When do you think we're going to have a chance to hear your next new songs?
I would say sometime around October. We're hoping to have it so that we can use it to tour Europe and wherever else we get to.
So it'll be a promo item you bring in Europe, and you'll be recording when over the next several months? When do you hit the studio?
We'll do pre-production in May, and we'll go from there depending on how it goes. So.
Awesome. So
it could be done by October, or it might take till the end of the year. Depends how these things go,
Sure. And you're on a small tour right now of throughout Australia.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you'd call it small. We're going all the way up. We're in Mackay at the moment for the next 2 weeks. We're playing Mackay and Airlie Beach, and then we're off to Cooktown, which is right up the top on the east, and then back down to just past Brisbane to Tweed Heads, and then back up to Cairns, across to Darwin, down to Adelaide, and back home. So it's a pretty big trip.
No, it sounds big. I'm sorry for calling it little. I shouldn't have called it that. You're on a huge tour, a gigantic tour throughout, through all kinds of cool places. Well, dudes, I really, really appreciate you doing this and being willing to take some time. It's Mojo Jacket. You can look for them at mojojacket.com online, and I hope you enjoyed talking today. It was a whole lot of fun.
Definitely. And come say good day to us on Facebook, people. We want to talk to you.
We'll definitely get that out there.
G'day, mate.
Hey, g'day, it's Benny Savala.
It's Rick Fumi and Ben Fumi from the band Mojo Jacket. And when I'm not throwing some shrimp on the barbie, or chasing kangaroos off my mum's porch, or playing with my pet koalas and Tasmanian devils, and dodging dangerous snakes, I'm right here with my mate Dave Lawrence. You bloody ripper. On member-supported Hawaii Public Radio. Thanks for your support. And by the way, we celebrate 420 down here too. Have a good one, mate. Hey, brother Dave. Have a happy, healthy 420. Crikey, mate.